Now, look, the demolition of the old stadium has not gone without controversy, believe that. But the hope is that this new venue that will absolutely benefit the student athletes here at Oregon, along with hosting the most prestigious track and field event on the planet behind the Olympics, all of that will ease the minds of the nostalgic and honor the great traditions of historic Hayward Field.
That was Lewis Johnson yesterday over at what was Hayward Field. Lewis, a little nostalgic for you considering how much you've been involved with events there over the years?
Absolutely, I must admit, especially the two Olympic trials being there up in the rafters of that building, calling some of the great moments there and just looking out and seeing how much people love and respect track and field here. So it's tough. I've had so many people, Roxy and Anthony, come up to me over the last year and ask if it's a great idea or not to move and change the stadium. I don't have an answer for that, but progress for sure is being made, and this town is going to welcome the globe. As I said, the World Championships is a huge event, and it'll happen right here. This is the perfect place in the United States, in my opinion, to host major track and field. Eugene is like none other.
As you said, that's why it's referred to as Tracktown USA.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be in favor of progress. You think about the opportunity to host worldwide events at a venue like that. That's one of the most hallowed grounds, one of the most hallowed track areas in the entire country. To be able to put a new venue up and host the world here, you think it's a huge opportunity.
No question. And within the renditions that I saw, and I know there have been some changes, there is space to have a museum so they can sort of honor the past with some great photos and some of the other iconic moments that have happened here. But listen, the venue will change, but I think the great history and tradition will remain the same and increase with this major event coming. So it's going to be awesome. I know it's going to be really great.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you know, for my hometown, Chicago, there's a lot of Cubs fans a few years ago that got really upset when they were starting to revamp Wrigley Field and change Wrigleyville around. But it's been great. They did it right. The Ricketts family did some great things there. You know, tradition is such a huge part of the sporting landscape, but when it's done right and the tradition is respected, folks usually benefit.
Braxton Burmeister to the first down. Brian Addison with the catch, the freshman from Gardena, moves the sticks, 47-yard line for Oregon. Interesting to see Tony Brooks-James in the game, and he fights his way out to midfield with the Ducks up 49-14 here in the fourth quarter. As Brooks-James, who has run for a touchdown today, is the starter, but again, we've seen 5-6 running backs again for Oregon this week, and just trying to develop some semblance of a rhythm. That's why Brooks-James is in there.
It's a nice recipe, if you ask me. I mean, so far, 5 different ball carriers. We anticipate we'll likely see 6 before the end of the fourth quarter here.
Braxton Burmeister into Portland State territory and brings up third down.
For Brooks-James, 16 carries, 92 yards so far. He spent a lot of time. He backed up Royce Freeman over the years, and he was one of the players who became closest with Justin Herbert. You go back to last season and even the year before last, because Brooks-James, especially even back in 2016 when Royce Freeman was hurt and missed a lot of that season, he became one of the main ball carriers during the true freshman season for Justin Herbert.
Here is Brooks-James, hit, breaking tackles. Third effort before he's forced out of bounds finally by Samis Kofe. And a first down for Oregon as they move the sticks here in Portland State territory. Reminder coming up at 2 o'clock, it'll be Washington against North Dakota. As the number 9 Huskies hosting North Dakota. It's coming up at the top of the hour. Pac-12 Network will get you to that game immediately after we're done here in Eugene. And the Husky game can be also seen from the start on Pac-12 Washington or the Pac-12 Now app, which you can download it and then log in to watch North Dakota and Washington coming up at 2 o'clock. But trying to replace Royce Freeman, you're talking about the all-time leading rusher in the history of this school. He ran for over 5,600 career yards, 60 career touchdown runs for Freeman, who is 6th in college football history in rushing.
The entire history.
Oh, by the way, Oregon has 2 of the top 20 rushers in the history of college football, with LaMichael James, the 18th leading rusher in the history of college football. C.J. Verdell, first down Ducks. as James also had over 5,000 yards on the ground.
But you see why Mario Cristobal, Marcus Arroyo, why they're so excited about some of these younger ball carriers. They wanted to go to more of a physical run style, not just with the offensive line, but you lost Royce Freeman, who goes about 225, 230. He was built like that when he came out of high school, but such a phenomenal career. So his legend here in the Oregon backfield and all the yardage that he put up as the main ball carrier over 4 seasons, you do need a handful of different backs to try and replace all of that.
Slipping out is the tight end, Hunter Kampmoyer. And then lost the football.
And noteworthy, Tony Brooks-James meet the 100-yard mark. He's got now 18 carries for 100 yards, and you would think that's probably what they were working towards with those last couple of carries, because he was on the cusp of it being in the 90s yardage-wise.
12th play of this drive, 3rd down. Burmeister gives to C.J. Verdell, and he gets to the 10 right near the marker.
But not just the O-line, the running backs themselves as well. They bulked up Brooks-James, C.J. Verdell, Travis Dye. They both already came in being around that 200-pound mark.
4th and a yard. And the handoff, Burmeister straight ahead. 1st down, Oregon. Pyle still moving forward down near the 5 as Brooks-James converts on 4th and short. So it's interesting that it's a one-sided game, 6.5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Brooks-James, Verdell getting carries on this drive. And now Cyrus Habibi Likio. Burmeister keeps, and he's inside the 5, down to the 3. Anthony Del Toro on the tackle for Portland State. And again, the Ducks will host San Jose State next week at 2 o'clock kick here at Autzen Stadium, as the Spartans on Pac-12 Network tonight at 8 o'clock against Washington State. And Oregon have a huge opening matchup in conference play against Stanford. Toward the goal line and in. Touchdown, Oregon. Tony Brooks-James puts the exclamation point on a 15-play, 75-yard drive.
There's a discussion happening with the line judge and the headline judge. Potential disagreement on.
The side judge threw his hands up to say touchdown.
Right. Huh.
And now they take the touchdown off the board. The side judge clearly threw his hands up to signal touchdown.
Without a doubt.
So 3rd and goal inside the 1, so take the Brooks-James touchdown away. Again, it's Brooks-James. He's up and over and in. Touchdown Ducks. 16 plays on the drive. 2nd today for Tony Brooks-James.
Well, it's nice for a back who's been biding his time throughout his career, now a senior. Tony Brooks-James able to put up some numbers in a big way. Time of possession on that drive, 6 minutes, 46 seconds. That's not your standard Oregon football, but that's how you ice a game.
Zach Emerson for the extra point. 56-14, Oregon rolling. 50 plus for the 2nd consecutive week. Pac-12 football is presented by TIAA. Live your definition of success at TIAA.org. 76, we're on the driver's side. And by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. The oldest shoes in the world. Right here.
No, wait a minute. That's a shoe?
You ever read Shoe Dog?
No, I can't say that I have.
You need to. You need to.
That counts as a shoe, huh? All right.
Should we consult with Phil Knight on that?
I'd be willing to.
The kickoff from Emerson. And the fair catch, it'll come out to the 25, and we go out to Chris Francis for another studio update.
North Dakota, Washington coming up next. Kickoff set for 2:02 Pacific. To see the start of that game, download and log into the Pac-12 Now app or tune into Pac-12 Washington. For those watching on Pac-12 Network, we'll get you to North Dakota, Washington after the conclusion of Portland State at Oregon.
(56-14) Ducks, 5:16 to play here. Again, a reminder, as Chris just told you, Washington, North Dakota coming up next. You're on Pac-12 Network. Watch it at the start. If you would like, you can download the app and then log in to watch. Danny Velasquez, a quarterback. There's a flag down and a delay of game coming off the sideline for Portland State.
May as well have just ran with a penalty flag in his hands.
Snap infraction. Offense, number 65. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So Velasquez a quarterback. Interesting storyline to one of the receivers here for Portland State. There's number 16 coming down to the bottom of your screen. That's Davis Cutter, the son of Buccaneers head coach Dirk Cutter, who has a connection going back with Bruce Barnum. As Cutter was actually recruited as a quarterback when they moved him to receiver here for Portland State. Darian Green wrestled down by Gary Baker behind the line. Loss of 2. All right, week 1, we talked about it early, what you saw against Bowling Green. What have you seen here? There is Cutter for Portland State. What have you seen from the Ducks here in week 2?
I've seen more attention to detail and more intensity. And I don't mean intensity in the manner that last week they came out sleepwalking, but there's more focus on their task itself, not really being awed by the fact that they're stepping on the Autzen Stadium and having some of those early jitters we saw last week. I saw a team today with some more teeth to it, to their approach.
Another flag before the play can get started.
False start. Offense, 73. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Peter Fisher-Keller called for the false start. Let's take a look at our Jimmy John's freak performance.
And that is Jalen Jelks from the defensive front of the Oregon Ducks. He's been a nose. He's been a 4 technique. He's been out as an outside linebacker, and he has harassed anyone who's been in the opposing backfield throughout the game today. 6 tackles. One of those is a sack. Last week he led the team with 9 tackles. It's been a huge start to the season for Jelks.
Second down carry. Amuvai on top of Antoine Williams, and the tackle brings up third down.
I think there's 2 players who I view as potential Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year candidates. One of those being Jalen Jelks. Another one, the guy who usually stands right behind him, in Troy Dye, the middle linebacker here for the Ducks. I think Taylor Rapp is another player. We'll see him coming up next for the Dogs defense at Washington. I could see him in that mix. And Karan Crump at Arizona State. Those are probably the top 4 guys around the Pac-12 conference I would view in that Defensive Player of the Year discussion preseason-wise.
Anybody at Utah stand out to you? As on the move is Velasquez. Rather, that is Davis Alexander getting his first snaps at quarterback. Alexander just got rid of it, and it's 4th down.
I like Bradley Anae from Utah. I'm very fond of him. the playmaking, the level of productivity from a statistical standpoint continues to grow. So he'd certainly be in that discussion as well. He'd probably be my number 5 sort of guy. I do think, though, that there's going to be enough playmakers in addition to Anae on the Utah defense where, perhaps his numbers will be good, perhaps not defensive MVP level.
Ben Neisner punting from the end zone. And the rollout punt is a low line drive. And this is Dye on the return. And he's corralled out of bounds. Good field position for Oregon. Let's check in again with Chris Francis.
Giraxi kickoff. North Dakota, Washington, moments away. To see the start of that game, download and log into the Pac-12 Now app or tune to Pac-12 Washington. And for those watching on Pac-12 Network, we'll take you there immediately following Portland State and Oregon.
Oregon at the Portland State 37, 3:14 to play. Justin Herbert today, 20 of 26, 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's the college debut for Tyler Shuck, the true freshman from Chandler, Arizona, who enrolled at Oregon back in January and driving the pile forward. C.J. Verdell, first down Oregon. And Shuck is an interesting story, Anthony, in terms of here's where that freshman 4-game rule and the redshirt rule may come into play.
I think it's going to end up making a big difference in whether or not they determine he's going to be the number 2 or the number 3 quarterback, and getting him game action.
C.J. Verdell to the second level, another first down.
We're getting game action for Tyler Shuck in a scenario where you still could potentially redshirt him. You can play him a month into the season, you can get 4 games overall, and still have the shot at redshirting him if you feel like he's maybe not going to be a big contributor for you.
And those 4 games could come at any point. It's not just, 4 successive games here early in the year. That is the new rule this year. And Shuck, who is 6'5", 205 from Chandler, Arizona, was here for spring ball. The number 2 prospect overall by ESPN in the state of Arizona, as stumbling, trying to keep his feet. And Verdell falls down right near the marker, shy of the goal line.
And the approach to that is going to be situational. We see Jack Tuttle at Utah, who's talented enough where you could consider him playing as a true freshman, but Kyle Whittingham taking the opposite approach, not wanting to burn those games early on. If he emerges as a guy who can contribute, he'll have the 4 games later in the year.
Plus, Jason Shelley looked pretty good when we saw him in Salt Lake City last week. As C.J. Verdell off the left side, and he's in for a touchdown. His first college score.
Now a second rusher, over 100 yards on the day for the Oregon Ducks. C.J. Verdell on that impressive physical ability, not just the burst, but some power to ensure another TD.
Zach Emerson on for the extra point, 1:38 to play. Ducks 8 for 8 in the red zone today. And they're an extra point that is blocked, the low line drive, and Emerson misses. And it's 62-14 Ducks with 1:38 to play. But again, for Oregon, after 58 points last week against Bowling Green. And here is that low extra point that was blocked at the line by Jake Porter. But for the Ducks, back-to-back 50-plus point games to open a season for just the second time in program history. They did it in each of the first 5 games back in 2013. 58 last week and 62 with 1:38 to go here against Portland State. And here is the scoring year by year for the Ducks, where they rank in the conference and national.
Big numbers as per usual. The Oregon offense, and comparatively with last week, you were asking me comparing what took place versus Bowling Green to today. One thing that stands out, 4 drops in last week's game, only 2 drops so far in the game today, and both were early. So from there, after suffering a couple of early drops, we're able to see as ball clubs start to catch the ball more cleanly, and the difference it makes with just the constant rhythm your offense can stay in, even if you're not catching it for a chunk play.
The kickoff from Emerson. And another fair catch will bring it out to the 25 for Portland State. So Herbert and this offense through the first couple of games averaging 60 points a game, and Justin Herbert with 9 touchdown passes in his first 2 weeks.
Although 3 penalties in last week's game, 5 penalties so far in today's game.
And again, San Jose State, Brent Brennan and the Spartans come to Autzen next week. And you can watch them tonight against the Cougs on Pac-12 Network at 8 o'clock. Talk about a long night for San Jose State. They're going to play that game, which starts at 8, as Carlos Martin, the ball carrier. Rather, that's Antoine Williams wrestled down by Popo Amuvai. So they play that game at 8. The way Washington State plays, that game could end around midnight, right?
Ish, yeah.
You're flying out of Lewiston, which San Jose State is doing. Best case scenario, wheels up at 1:30, 1:45. And it's a 2-hour flight down to the Bay Area. And keep in mind that there's a curfew at San Jose Mineta International Airport. So you can't land there after 11 p.m. So they have to land in Oakland and drive about 45 minutes to an hour down the 880 to campus, then cut over on the 280. Brent Brennan's team will probably get back to their facility right next to Spartan Stadium at roughly 5 in the morning.
Not that you have much knowledge of the area at all.
Chase Morrison gets the carry.
But you think about the fortitude of Pac-12 viewers today. 4 games on the network. So we talk a lot about Pac-12 after dark. I mean, they're starting with us today, Pac-12 before brunch. 4 throughout the day. Got the dogs coming up.
A lot of our crew is here before daylight. So Pac-12 before daylight today.
There you go.
For them.
Folks I saw in the parking lot, though, actually, there were some folks who slept here last night in one of the parking lots.
Anthony Herron was not one of them.
I was not, no.
Antoine Williams dancing around. Poe Paletti Gore on the tackle. The walk-on is Mario Cristobal. Comes across the field to shake hands with Bruce Barnum, and a huge win for number 23 Oregon. For those of you watching on Pac-12 Network, we take you now to Seattle, where number 9 Washington hosts North Dakota. For those watching on Pac-12 Oregon, stick around after the break for more post-game coverage. Huge